there, it's Mrs. Batt, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about some 3D shapes. And so I have here a box. Looks like I bought some lens cleaning wipes in it. And when we look at this, we think of a box, and what the actual mathematical term for this shape is, it's a rectangular prism. And the reason is because when we look at it, we usually think of, when we look at the rectangular prism, as the base as being the bottom. And that works fine for rectangular prisms, but other prisms, the bases might be other shapes. So when we look at this, if I think of the bottom as being the base, then I have another base parallel to that up here, and then around I have the different lateral faces. So altogether I have a bottom and a top, and I've labeled those. Let me adjust this a little bit. And then when you're looking at it, there's a left side and a right side, and then there's a front and a back. So there's 6 faces altogether, and what we want to be able to do is figure out how to flatten this out. Like if I were to cut on all the corners or the edges here, how could I make a flat picture that I could then fold up into this box? Okay, so I'm going to try to do this towards you so it's easy for you to watch, and it's going to be kind of backwards for me, so we'll see if I can do that. So I'm going to start with a piece of paper here, and I'm going to adjust this. You're not going to see my face very much. I want you to also be able to make a net. So you're going to need to make sure that if you take your rectangular prism, you kind of put it down in the middle, can you keep it still and kind of fold it, you know, any way on an edge and not fall off the paper? So that's the first thing we want to do. Okay, so as you're looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and put mine in the middle of my paper, and of course I've got it on the bottom, which is a base. I'm going to hold it really still, and I have to be careful so I don't flub this up, and I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to go ahead and trace all the way along the bottom, the lines, so that I could, if I were to cut this out, I could possibly glue that piece of blue paper onto the bottom of my box. Okay, so all I have right now is, if I lift up my box, there's the rectangle. Can you see that? Okay, there's the rectangle. This is the same size as the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and write bottom on that. See if I can do this upside down. Okay, so there's the bottom. Now I'm going to put the box back on it, and now what I want you to do is I want you to tilt the box towards you. You have to be careful to make sure that this line that made the front bottom corner stays exactly where it is as you tilt your box forward. So keep that in the same place and double check as you go. And we're going to lay it down so that the front is now sitting on the paper. And I'm going to go ahead and trace those other 3 sides there, because if I did this well, which hopefully I did, the edge that I flipped it, you see kind of that rotating edge, when I had it this way and flipped it down, this line should still be the same. Okay, so when I flipped it forward, that's the front. So I'm going to go ahead and label that. Ooh. You'll have to laugh at me if I'm doing this upside down and doing it wrong. Okay, so there's the front. So if I take the box off, I just want to show you, you keep your box right where it's at. So if I take it off right now, I have my bottom, and then I have the front. And if you look at this, notice they're 2 different size rectangles. So my bottom was kind of a long, skinny rectangle, and my front is a kind of taller rectangle. I'm going to put this back here, and now I want to make sure it's lined up. Hopefully you haven't moved your box at all. Line it back up where it was, so the bottom is on the shape I drew. And I'm going to do the same thing going backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it back, making sure that this edge right here stays firm on the paper. And if you do slip a little bit, then you can kind of just line it up and take a look. Does this line that I made on the bottom line up? And it should. And now I'm going to go ahead and trace around this again. And then I'm going to flip it back up. And I want you to keep yours, but I want you to kind of see what I did. See, I have the bottom, I flipped the front here, I flipped back, this was the back. Okay, so there so far, if I were to cut this out, I'll show you, I could kind of wrap the box, and I have the front, the bottom, and the back covered. So now make sure this is lined up again on the bottom, and now we're going to flip it side to side. So we're going to go to your left, my right. Make sure that that line stays exactly where it should here, so that we've already got that edge drawn on our paper. We're going to go ahead and draw around this left side. It's my right side, but the way you're looking at it should be the left. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it back up where I started, and of course this is the left side for you, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it the way it is, hopefully when you're looking at it, if I'm thinking this through right. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it the other way also. And what you'll notice, you're going to end up with like a big T or a big cross on your paper at this point. Got a little crooked there. Okay, and then the way you're looking at that, that should be the piece that was on the right. Okay, so I'm going to take the box off. You leave yours where it is. Now notice, so far, when I've drawn all the pieces, I have what looks kind of like a big cross. And that gives me the bottom of my box and then all the sides because I flipped it each way. Now what's missing is I don't have the top. Now you have 4 choices of where to put this top, okay? Now the bottom line is the top is going to be the exact same size as the bottom. So when you draw it, you need to make sure you draw the right thing. So depending on how much room you have left on your paper, you could do a couple things. You could go left or right, hold that line, and then draw it here. But look, I didn't leave myself enough space here. So if I tried to draw and attach it to this left side, I don't have enough paper. So that's not a good option for me. But you may have done a better job on this side of putting it in the middle. Let's see. Can I go this way and attach it over here? Once again, I don't have enough paper here. So let's see if I go front or back. I'm going to go ahead and slide this up a little bit. If I go this way and then just roll one more, yep, I've got enough paper. I'm going to go ahead and put my top there. Okay, so take a look. I started with my box this way, okay, and I set it right here. And then if I wrap each of these, I've got the side pieces, okay, and then what you'll see, I'm going to go ahead and flip this up. I can go ahead and have the back piece come here, and then I would have this top attached, and I could just bend it over this way, okay? So when we get done drawing a net of a rectangular prism, it's going to have whatever piece whichever rectangle you put on the bottom right there, and then the sides are going to kind of make a T or a cross going out, and then the piece that goes on the top is going to be stuck onto either the top of the back or the bottom of the front, or you might have a long skinny piece going off of each side. Now what I want you to notice is that you have several rectangles that are the same. Okay, whatever you have for the bottom, you're going to skip a rectangle, and then you're going to have a top that are going to be the exact same size. From the bottom, if you go out this way, your left and your right sides will be the exact same size. And if you go forward and back, your front and back will be the exact same size. All right, so that is how we draw a net. And what we're going to have to do, that was using a real box, but what we're going to work up to is being able to look at a picture of a box on a flat piece of paper, and it's going to be like a 3D drawing, and can we figure out how to set it down and imagine in our head how to flip it forward, how to flip it back, how to flip it left, or that's right for you, left for me, and left, and then figure out where we want to put that top. And of course, you will end up with something that looks like a cross, only it is going to have one extra piece that's put somewhere. So that's how we draw a net, and in our next video we're going to be a little bit more specific about that, because I'm going to have you label, if I were to take a ruler and measure, okay, how long each of these sides are, I could then mark each one of these little line segments with the actual measurements, and then figure out the area of this whole thing if I add up the area of all those rectangles. Okay, so I talked about measuring. So I went ahead and decided we'd spend a few more minutes together. I went ahead and just very quickly measured using a ruler, and I just kind of rounded off to the nearest 1/4 inch. So if I put this back on the base and I measure across this way, I found that it was about 4 1/4 inches across this way. So I want to point out something. When I look at this measurement from here to here, and that's 4 1/4 inches, that means that this rectangle that is across the bottom, notice I've color coded everything in red to show the measurements that go across 4 1/4 inches. And notice that when I flip it forward, this measurement is going to be 4 1/4. This measurement is going to be 4 1/4. When I flip it back, this is going to be 4 1/4. So if it's 4 1/4 across this direction from one side to the other, that means anywhere I draw this, that I am going to have, and I'll show you, do you see all of these red measurements? Okay. When I look at across the bottom, this shows the sideways measurement of the front all the way up. Okay, so all of those are the same. Now, notice the same thing. When I measure this way, okay, and so when I measured this on the sides from the front to the back, this measurement on the sides is 2.75 inches. So again, from front to back is 2.75 inches. So when I tip it this way, it's going to be 2.75 here, 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 and here. And I've color coded that in blue on mine. So you see that that same measurement goes the same amount all the way across. Okay. And now what's interesting, do you see that I have like yellow and yellow, yellow and yellow? So the T part of our net, those measurements are going to be how tall my box is, because when I flip it forward, these side measurements right here were what was standing up when the box was straight up. Same thing, when I flip it this way, this long side is how tall the box was when it was standing up. And so when we flip it forward and then sideways, what we end up with is that these measurements that form the T do have to be the same size. And those, I've labeled those, you can, I don't know if you can read it, 5.5 inches, 5.5 inches. Same thing over here, the part that comes to a corner and makes that T, those are going to be the same size up here and up here. So when you make your T, you're going to have all those measurements are how tall the box is. And then double check when we have our base that's in the middle, that was our bottom, those measurements should be exactly the same rectangle as we have up here. So again, the bottom and the top have the exact same measurements. The front and the back have the exact same measurements, and the left and the right. And notice I've labeled every single one of those lines on here, and I would want you to do the same thing on any net that you would draw.